for example, cut off the diesel buses and replace them with electrical or hydrogen buses. But the key issue is how we can coordinate all these processes. And that's more like a governance issue. And I like this saying that show me where you put your money or invest your budget. That's how I can tell you what your priorities are. And I think the management and the decision making in the top level is the key. And that's why we have started this kind of initiative. And our dear colleague Thomas Haidak will tell you about later. From the Tallinn side, also we have two more presenters. The first one is Kalle Killer, who is going to give you an overview of how we can engage the business sector to the green transition. And Kalle will tell you about our project Test in Tallinn, how we can use this city space for testing different innovative aspects or solutions for green transition. And last but not least, our digital construction lead, Christopher Robin Reitbeer, will give you an overview of Tallinn's digitalization projects. And the most important project is the digital twin. And we have many innovative ideas how to develop further this digital twin, and also how to manage urban planning more digital. And yeah, basically, if you have some questions, maybe you can write to the chat, but basically I give you the floor back to Leila, please.
Thank you, Raido, and thanks to really the team in the Tallinn city, Krista, who's not today with us, and Thomas, and everybody who's here with us today, really for great cooperation and great collaboration to getting to this first and very inspirational learning session within the Urban Learning Center. Just to say, the purpose is really for the cities and different partners to come together, to learn, to exchange good experiences, hopefully accelerate collaboration as well. And I'm really looking forward to hearing about your experience, and obviously to hear from Diana as well on the wealth of her experience, because I think we're at a crux moment. The cities are facing a lot of pressures. We see that things that are related, climate change is actually interacting very closely with trends like natural resource depletion and high urbanization. And this is putting a lot of pressure on cities. And this, in our region, it comes on top of other pressures that were already there, old industries, many times either a lot of people moving into cities or many people leaving cities. And we find that a lot of our cities are really bold and really open to experimentation and doing things differently. And I really like your point, show me where the money is, right? And, in this region, cities have different levels of devolution. So what we would like to see through this process, through the Urban Learning Center, is really to support the cities in identification of those priorities and bringing the different elements of the transition together, and generating a different identity, a new vision, something that brings different parts of the ecosystem together, in something that is shared about what is the future of each. We had somebody from Kutaisi earlier on, from Kutaisi to Ukraine, to Moldova and Azerbaijan. What is the future of the cities, and how can we generate a different type of growth, one that is inclusive, one that is green, one that is obviously fueled by digital, and making sure that all of those elements are interacting together in real time, and we are learning as we're implementing, and we're all learning, I think, in this together. There's not one ready-made solution. I think for us, it's also extremely important to learn from Tallinn. It's a great example of a city that was an industrial city that now is recognized to be a digital and green city, one where I think many cities in this region also have a shared history with. And to go and the way in which Tallinn has transformed itself to be an attractor for young people, for startups, for remote workers as well. We're really looking forward to hearing more about that. And just, I think, to end, a short call to reach out to everybody who's joined us today, to reach out to our team, to give us a sense and to reach out, to give us a sense of what are you interested in, but also if you're interested in to learn more about the Tallinn experience, about specific elements of it, please feel free to reach out to us, to reach out to the city has been kind enough to offer this space, and to learn more about your experience and your pathway to transformation. And we're here as UNDP really to serve as a bridge between, and to accelerate learning between different cities in our region, beyond our region, and to create a space where we can share experiences. So we move, I guess, faster towards these greener, more resilient cities. So on that note, Tina, I guess over to you.
Thank you so very much, Raido and Leila, for setting that frame. I think you kicked us off really well. I am excited to hand it over to Kalle, who is the business director at Tallinn Strategic Management Office, and is going to walk us through some key aspects of this transformation and the big question, what made it possible? Over to you, Kalle.
Thank you very much, and thank you for organizing this event, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to participate and tell our story. I will give you a little appetizer, because in 15 minutes I can't give you everything, but just an appetizer about transformation process in Tallinn. Focusing on digitalization and how we approach and welcome new technologies in our city space. So just a little overview about Tallinn in numbers. We are a rather old town already.
Apologies, Kalle, but do you mind making it a little bit bigger?
Okay.
Full screen.
I will need to.
Is the display maybe at the bottom there? If you change it at the top, display settings.
So display.
Usually it's F5, but you can also use the display settings at the bottom. I mean, sorry, the top menu. The top menu, there's a display settings. I think you can switch between your two screens there. There you go. Super.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now it's okay.
Yep, all good.
Very good. Okay, sorry for confusion. Population almost 500,000 people in Tallinn. Then we have GDP per capita, $33,000 US, and total area of 160 kilometers. So going into rankings, I will just scroll it through. Startup hubs, intelligent community, number 1. European City of Future, number 7. Best city remote workers, 21. Best city for expats, there we are 22nd position. And digital services city 2022, number 3. So I'm going into the digitalization. So taking the pathway towards digitalization, then of course first you need to sort of agree on with your society what are the guiding principles that you have to follow. So basically, the number 1 is always confidentiality. That you need to create the trust among your citizens. That what are you doing in the digitalization process? You can rely on the government, and you can remain the trust between the citizens and the state. So basically, in addition to the ones that I've been highlighting here in the first box, it's also the legal framework, and the people can control the use of their data and basically shut down the use of their data. So this is, I think, one of the main and most important principle. Secondly, availability. That the data should be available for the use of our citizens, and of course use for the different stakeholders within a state, also municipality. And there Estonia is using X-Road for all data exchange that takes place between different private and public sector institutions. And integrity, of course, so everything that is happening in the digital world, it is also recorded. So for that, we are using blockchain technology. And in order to keep us safe, then also data embassies that sort of keep the data in cases something will happen within the state. So basically, I will not go through everything here, but taking the approach of setting the principles, then it's of course a matter of us to provide such services that are the most attractive for our citizens. And I'm not lying when I'm telling that Estonia and Estonians are probably the one and only country in the world who expects and who welcomes the tax declaration time, because it is so easy. It's a matter of 5 minutes to fill your tax declarations and receive your extra funding that is coming from allowances in a matter of weeks. So our principle is that great services that are sort of making the citizens' life better and having this sort of positive experience from these services. And of course, our pathway has been rather long now, already more than 20 years, and we've been sort of adding on different approaches. Here I can just bring up e-health, where we basically, to bring an illustrative example, that the paper that we are not using the e-health every year is as tall as the Eiffel Tower in Paris. So just an easy example, but in addition to the workforce savings, we are also saving the use of paper. That is important in case of green transition. And again, coming to the end of this process, or rather at the last years, we've been focusing on different AI solutions in order to support the development of services provided for the citizens, but also using the data that is available throughout our systems for understanding better the needs of the citizens and understanding better the effects of our decisions and how to actually make this in more line supporting the sustainable development. You will hear more about digital twins afterwards, but Tallinn City is also front runner in developing different digital services. In addition to the ones here, I can proudly say that Tallinn is the front runner in providing open data, both for the research institutions, for our citizens, and for our enterprises. So the amount of open data that Tallinn creates and puts into the use, it's rather amazing. And this has allowed us to embark on a journey to use Tallinn as the test bed. So here you can see one of the pilot that we had beginning of this year, that in the old town. Robots were able to sort of deliver goods for the businesses operating in the old town. That was done together with the DPD and one of the developers of self-driving vehicles in Estonia. And Where we focus on using our city spaces, as you saw, mobility, of course, energy efficiency and renewable energy, and the choice is obvious because of the green capital title and our ambitions to become green in even further than just the green capital year. And where we see that the Tallinn is having the competitive advantage using the digital transformation that we have embarked already for quite a long time, is that we are able to provide real life environment, suitable locations throughout the city space, that the city system can help us or can help the enterprises and to guide the enterprises. Of course, what I mentioned already, the use of open data, both when starting your pilot, but also during the pilot and after the pilot, that the other companies and the city system can learn from these pilots. And of course, we are willing to engage with our partners. So this is a little intro from my side. So hopefully you had some sort of idea about our transformation and our future plans. And of course, we are open to have any bilateral discussions with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kalle. That was, although in a short time frame, I think you were able to showcase some inspirational cases. I want to open the floor for any reflections or any questions to Kalle. If not, I would take the liberty and ask one, Kalle, if you don't mind. Which is the last quote that you had there on the slide, which is about investing, right? Investing in capabilities, investing in new, and so I'm wondering if you could elaborate a bit. If you have that kind of city history, what made Tallinn decide to kind of invest, and what was needed? I mean, obviously the municipality took upon a role as a shaper, let's say, to really emphasize and to invest in both technology, but also of course to be able to do those type of e-governance and digital services. Any reflections around how the municipality invested in own staff, but also in new technologies?
Yes, I think it has two sides. First of all, I think taking our background as the ex-Soviet Union country and the frustration that the society had about the bureaucracy and society not being flexible and citizen-oriented. So always look for the frustration, and where there is frustration, there is also a push to change this into something better. And what I think it didn't happen overnight. It happened step by step. Private sector leading and showing some innovations, and of course the public sector following these innovations, and then going hand in hand with the private sector to develop and to focus on putting in place the principles that we need to follow, and also investing a lot into the awareness raising of our citizens, but also the city government itself, that these all things need to move with the same space, otherwise it's sort of not happening. So I think this is the key for our success, and hopefully it will help us even further with our ambition.
Thank you, Kalle. So So one of the key points is to look for pain points or look for frustration where people are the most frustrated. So slow bureaucracies and try to address that. I'm sure that's also a way to build the trust and the engagement from the residents as well. Any, just again, checking in if there are any questions, please raise your hand if you have any follow-up to what Kalle shared. All right. If not, then I will move on to Thomas, next speaker, who's going to be talking to us about how the city use the Sustainable Development Goals, the 2030 Agenda, as a frame for its governance, I guess, Thomas. Over to you. And thank you so much again, Kalle.
Yes, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's a real pleasure and honor to be able to make this presentation. So really thank you very much to the Urban Learning Center for this opportunity. I will also see how well I can share my screen. Does everything work nicely? So can you confirm that my slides are showing on full screen?
Looks perfect. Thank you.
Looking good. Okay, SDG implementation and the role of governance in working towards the SDGs. Raido, in his introduction, mentioned a management reform that we started a couple of years ago. One part of it also being the establishment of a central strategic management office. And we are in the midway of this management reform, and a term that we have coined as a result of this process is sustainability governance. So why sustainability governance? What does it mean? Of course, sustainability here refers to the UN 2030 agenda and the sustainable development goals. So governing in the context of achieving the goals that we have set all together as one world. So why is this topic so important? Governance itself is not a very attractive topic, but you can talk with the citizens. Quite frankly, your citizens would expect more like concrete results, not the municipality talking about how they govern the city. But still, we see that it is actually governance that is behind many of the successes or failures of sectoral policies. And this is also highlighted by a lot of recent reports about the progress of achieving the SDGs. And then quite frankly, the progress is not good enough. We are not moving towards achieving the SDGs in the tempo that we should be. Of course, there are countries and cities who are doing a little bit better, but on average, as a whole, we are doing not enough in terms of achieving the goals. And one claim is that this is about governance, but it is a lot about how we make decisions, because we know what we want to achieve. We basically also know what we should be doing. But sometimes it is still that we fail, and we fail in very critical places. And this importance of governance is also highlighted by recent very high-level work done by different international organizations. So I'm talking here again about the UN, also OECD, European Commission, probably some other international organizations as well that we're not so familiar with. But yes, so there is a lot of focus from these high-level organizations as well. We're talking about policy coherence, or the principles of governance, or new ways how to govern both nations and cities and regions. But these high-level guidelines can be sometimes for a city, for a local municipality, a bit too vague or understandable. It might still be difficult form. Essentially was that into our local context. So kind of a sense making of all these principles and guidelines and best practices, how to govern a city. We try to make sense, like what does it mean in the context of Tallinn? And what we came up to was what we call like 3 levels of governance. So the first level is the horizontal level. The highest up level, this is where you set your goals, sustainable development goals, for example. You work out the principles, how to govern. You deal with all the strategic and horizontal topics like financing, monitoring, communication, organizational development, and etc. So this is the highest level. On the second level, you create cross-sectoral policies. So probably you have heard about the silo effect, being that different ministries or agencies or other institutions tend to just work towards their own separate goals, as in a separate silo. And there is a need for this cross-silo, coordinating policies. So this is what we claim to be on the second level of governance, the cross-sectoral policies. And then, of course, is the actual implementation of sectoral policies. That's what the citizens expect. So how is mobility organized? How is heating, water, waste, and all the other services that a local municipality provides? So how do they actually manifest? And based on these 3 like fundamental levels, we started to elaborate like what are the most important things currently for the city of Tallinn to deal with on each level. So let's take the horizontal governance level first. So what we did was a new city strategy 2035, and we integrated the SDGs into the strategy. So first, having a consensus of what it is that we want to achieve in the context of the SDGs. Raido mentioned that it is actually money that shows what your real goals are. So where you spend your money really is what your actual goals are. And so a city strategy is only as good as well it is related to the budget. And for us, what it meant was that we need to have a performance-based budgeting system. So if you're not aware what it is, then it's a little bit hard to explain it in very short time. But basically, it connects the objectives of an organization into with the financing and budgeting. And it has been done in many countries and many cities around the world. It is not a simple process, actually. It takes quite a lot of time. And I cannot say that it is perfectly implemented in Tallinn. Probably it is not perfectly implemented in anywhere in the world, but it is definitely needed in order to really see whether you are financing the objectives that you have set down in the strategy. Then it's very important on the horizontal governance level to deal with the organization. So the structure, like for us, the establishment of a strategic management office, but more widely, the whole structure of the organization and really what the culture and the values of the organization are. So I like to quote the former CEO of Netflix, who said that one superstar worker is worth 10 average workers. And really, whether it's 10 or 5 or 100, the idea really seems to be right that you only get the results that your people are able to produce. So the culture, the knowledge, the values, the enthusiasm, what they have is super important in achieving the goals. And once you have the goals, the budget related to it, the structure, values, etc., is about actually providing the services. So how do you use this structure? How do you use the people that you have in providing services? It's kind of a whole science of coming up up with service management principles that are applied across the whole organization, where results are monitored constantly. There is a feedback loop to renew services and etc. So a whole big service management approach was also one part of it. So the second level of governance, what we identified, cross-sectoral governance. So we are halfway there to align like all the sectors. We are not completely done with it. So the most important topics that we dealt with were energy and climate policy that formulated in the SECAP, that is the Sustainable Energy and Climate Action Plan. So I think the energy topic and climate topic does not come as a surprise to anyone, the importance of it. Then Digital Tallinn approach, Kalle already in his opening referred to the importance of it and how it has already helped Tallinn to make this transformative change, but we foresee that the changes coming due to digitalization are even bigger than they have been so far, with the introduction of AI, for example, being one of the key things that you can see on the news even today, or in your own computers and laptops, what is happening. And what we are currently working together with the OECD is a circular economy concept. So in addition to how we use more efficiently energy, which is dealt with in energy plan, all other resources as well that we are using as the city. So how to be effective in using different resources, how to renovate, recycle, and make the most effective use of what we have. So I will not go into the sectoral policies in detail because there is not too much time, but just to emphasize or show how then these cross-sectoral policies would be implemented in some of the sectoral policies. So, for example, when we take the energy and climate action plan, so what does it really tell for different sectors how they should plan their activities? For example, energy and climate action plan gives guideline to the urban planning, but we need to densify the city. It gives guideline to mobility, that we should reduce single occupancy car travel. To construction, that we need to renovate the buildings in innovative ways. Heating and energy, that we need to increase district heating and produce more local renewable energy. And public space, how to reduce artificial surfaces and etc. And although they might seem like self-explanatory and simple things, you need to have them written down and agreed upon, because in the end, they will then manifest in actual projects. For example, how to turn a derelict old industrial area in the city into a new, modern, but at the same time taking into account its historical heritage, how to turn this area into a living and commercial center, applying all the principles that the Energy and Climate Action Plan laid down. So what I want to emphasize is that although at first these guidelines seem to be like very generic and kind of self-explanatory, if you apply them right, they will manifest in actual sectoral policies, actual actions that the citizens can benefit from. And so the second cross-sectoral policy, digitalization, that Kalle also showed a little bit, and that Christopher will go into more detail in the context of urban planning and the digital twin. I just wanted to highlight that but digitalization as a cross-sectoral policy is influencing very many different things. So first off, of course, e-services. We have about 130 e-services, about 60 information systems, from registries to applications, permits, parking management, etc. So something that is really tangible for the citizen and makes their life easier. Then open data that Kalle also referred to a huge amount of open data that we can use ourselves, but also what other stakeholders and businesses can use. For example, Waze uses our open data about city traffic in their mobile application, so they get really accurate traffic data about the city of Tallinn. Then digitalization is used in city management, in dashboards, in how to provide the information to management. Of course, in urban planning, that Christopher will talk more in detail. And then last but not least, transparency and participation. So actually how the citizens can relate to city management, how they can make suggestions, how to develop the city. So digitalization is also a tool for democracy, transparency, and participation. And I will not go any more too much detail in the context of a circular economy, because this is where we are on the midway of establishing the report. But just for those who want to afterwards look at the slides, I highlighted some of the things about governance that the Circular Economy Action Plan will deal with, and we're happy to share this knowledge with you, with the ones who are interested in circular economy as well. But to conclude this presentation, I will also refer back to what Raido started with about the Sustainability Governance Competence Center. But now that we have done a lot in terms of this management reform, have implemented a lot of the actions, and are the Green Capital of Europe this year, we have taken upon ourselves to, as the Green Capital of Europe, to share this experience and this knowledge with other cities as well. And for that, we are establishing the Competence Center for Sustainability Governance that provides this holistic approach about what governance is and how it could be applied in order to achieve actual results for the citizens. We also, as the leader of a cross-European project, Global Goals for Cities, created a learning kit or toolkit localizing the SDGs. So if you are interested in how to localize the SDGs, feel free to look at the toolkit, and we are very happy to, if you would want to have us also show how to use it and how to localize SDGs in your cities. Also sectoral policy advice on urban planning, mobility, waste management, and etc. And this competence center just does not rely only on Tallinn experts, but we also engage outside expertise in addition to Tallinn experts. And yeah, it's not really only Tallinn's experience that we are sharing. We try to put together more best practices and more expertise from other cities as well. And my contacts, just in case, if you want to take contact and ask about the possibilities for cooperation. Thank you again for your time. There is the possibility for questions right away. Well, I guess, Tina.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Thomas. I think there's so much there. There's a lot of things that can be unpacked, including how your planning framework really manifested itself in concrete, lived, experiences by residents and visitors alike, including the new greener urban spaces to better, more efficient digital services. I've heard that the only thing you cannot do online in Tallinn or in Estonia is to get married, but maybe you can do that now as well. I'm not sure, but that's what at least what I've heard. But there's a question in the chat. It's a general one. It's a very good and relevant question from Hatuna on funding in terms of the digital shift that you've been part of now, and that Kalle was also referring to. I don't know, where did you get the money from? Do you have any lessons or anything you want to share from your experience around resource mobilization, maybe private-public partnership, loans? Like, how did you manage this in terms of attracting the funds?
Yeah, well, maybe it's important to emphasize like two things. First, that IT is actually not the most expensive thing compared to other responsibilities that the city has. So compared to construction, compared to the social cost, compared to education, that are the major expenditures in our budget. IT does not take that much money. So it is not a huge expenditure in itself. And it is relatively other fields to evaluate its benefits. So you can make cost benefits analysis whether the money that you invest into IT, does it come back? So it is possible to show the benefits of the IT investments quite effectively. But then again, leaving that aside, we also have to be honest that there has been quite a lot of support from both the national government and European Union on IT funding as well. So definitely, everybody could benefit from foreign financing as well, even if there is sometimes quite a lot of bureaucracy involved. But really, to say that, I wouldn't say that financing has been a key concern when we talk about IT development. It's usually more, it's about the both technical and social issues like legacy, software that you have, and etc. It hasn't, at least for Tallinn's case, hasn't been so much about the money.
That's interesting. So the digital infrastructure, of course, costs less, and it's perhaps more around increasing capabilities within the municipality, perhaps, yes, and investing in that. Yeah, I'm hearing that we have a mayor from Malaysia on the call, Mayor Roslan Norani. Is that the case? I'm just wondering, since we have somebody from another region. Is that the case? I think, yeah. Diana, you...
Yeah, you're mute, Mayor Noraini. She's the mayor of Surabaya in Malaysia. But I think you're mute. Now you are. Hello, Mayor. We cannot hear you, but it's great to see you here.
Yeah, that's super. I mean, it's great to have a mayor from another region. That's very unique. So if you would like to unmute yourself and share a little bit from your point of view, that would be super.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. In relation to what Tallinns have told you, I myself experienced, by the way, I'm in a new city now. I'm in Klang, which is near the port city in Malaysia. It's the biggest port. As far as IT is concerned, it's only a tool as a leverage to ease your ways of doing things to manage the city. It's not the end in itself. So I would say that like the earlier presentation, we would first find our pain points and address those in our cities and use the technology to assist us in achieving our goals. So the prioritization on financing should first be to resolve our biggest issue. And talking about integration of SDG into our strategic plans, into our local plans and action plans, once we have sustainability in mind, we can incorporate those into all the actions that we are doing so that the bigger objectives of contributing to the health of the planet would be there in all your actions. Back to you, Tina.
Super. Thank you so much, Mayor, for those reflections. I don't know if there are any other, I'm going to open the floor. Any other comments or questions to both Thomas, but also to Mayor Roslani? It's a very quiet crew today. All right, I got some hands. Irakli Kutaisi, over to you.
I would like to greet you once more. I welcome you from Kutaisi. Thank you very much at the first place for giving this opportunity provided by UNDP within the frameworks of Urban Center. This is a very good opportunity. It gives us interesting ideas, experience, which we can use later on in our activities. I want to extend my gratitude to Thomas for his speech. I made some notes regarding SDGs, which will be very useful for us. Kutaisi now is in this process, and we have already developed Kutaisi municipal document on SDGs, in which we were supported by the expert assigned to our city, and we think that Kutaisi will join with full responsibility with 12 missions and 21 targets. We have 48 indicators identified. We'll join with great mission, and I would like to highlight that we are in this context. Kutaisi implements an approach, mayors for economic growth, as a result of winning the competition, Kutaisi Eco Smart City. And in this context, we have thought of climate smart solutions, and we are starting testing them. Public procurements already are announced, and we have already envisaged these areas in our local SDG plan. And this gives us opportunity to develop the sustainable development combined consolidated document. So this is consolidated from our different action plans, and we have also envisaged approaches from a city master plan, and this document will become, upon being approved by City Council, it will become an action plan for all offices, and will be by all means be envisaged in our local budget. Respective resources will be allocated and it will be also used for midterm reports and monitoring reports as well. I also made notes about your horizontal approach as well, and we think that when we start development of our local team, we by all means use this approach, and based on this improve our approaches. And I want to extend my deep gratitude for these opportunities which we get here. Thank you for sharing your best practice. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Irakli. Yeah, sharing something from Georgia. So Kutaisi, as Irakli pointed out, is one of our pioneer cities in the M4AG, applying portfolio thinking or systems lens to becoming an eco-smart leader in Georgia. So it's very exciting to see. I see Elena has her hand up. would you like to come in now?
Sure. Thanks so much, colleagues, and thanks a lot, Thomas, for this these details. I'm wondering what might be some of the success factors or even pain points in this journey on implementing more of the sustainability governance and cross-sectoral policies as well, because we know often cities function in silos, as you mentioned, in separate departments. They are implementing separate budgets, and even sometimes the staff also is just for specific projects or departments. So I'm just wondering, how did you make it happen? What were some of the key success factors in implementing this type of cross-sectoral policies and activities?
Yes, thank you. Well, I know my first answer is something that you don't like, because it is something that cannot be easily copied. It is leadership. So first, you need the leadership, the top leaders, to really be engaged, really be believing and leading this process. So yeah, I don't know if we would have had such success without the political leaderships, not only support but actually leading this process. So, but it doesn't really help those who currently might not have it. So the other thing then is to not get frustrated of failures, because although on paper this governance is super simple, like everybody does pretty much the same things, in practice it's not that simple. So it takes practice to get to be an expert in it, and this naturally means failures as well. You will probably do something wrong. I know we did quite a lot, and you must not get frustrated about it. The key is to learn about it and try again, try to do it better. But definitely you need some kind of a core group of people who can lead it, even if there is not very specific, like political or top level leadership. You still need these superstars that I refer to in my meeting as well. You need somebody who's the core group. One is not enough, two is not enough. You need a little bit more so that they can become the leaders of the other civil servants as well. So that would be my very simple insights into that.
Thank you so much, Thomas, and Elina also for the question. I would apologize because I think my connection might not be the best. So let me know if I'm clear or not. We do have 2 more agenda items, but just wanted to check in. Are there any other questions or comments to Thomas and other colleagues at this point? All right, if not, then feel free to still use the chat. And next up is Diana. Diana is a colleague of mine and others at UNDP, but has also a long history with working with cities and mayors. Over to you, Diana.
Hello, yes, I'm Diana Lopez. I'm a partnership specialist on cities and local governments here in New York in headquarters. If I can find my screen, that will be lovely. If my mouse stops misbehaving, sorry, wait a second. There is a problem with the screen. Yeah, no, sorry about it. Yeah, okay, so I wanted to give you a little bit of an international, can you hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah. So I wanted to give you a little bit of an overall. Again, sorry, this is, I don't know what's happening. It's something, it's going well. Yeah. Okay, let me try this one. Sorry about that. Okay. So the Sustainable Development Goals were approved in 2015, and we were never expecting they were going to have this kind of world success.
Sorry, Diana, to interrupt. Could you also make it a big screen so we could see better?
Like that?
No, just do the show. I think at the bottom there is a slideshow slide to show it as a presentation. There you go.
Like that?
Super. Yep, all good.
Sorry about that. So we were never expecting to have this kind of success. This agenda is the first time that we have a global agenda that applies to the global north and the global south. So it was kind of an experiment for the UN. There was a very consultative process. Of course, this process was done a little bit with the civil society, with the major groups, but this is decided by central governments, by the ministries of foreign affairs generally. But for the first time in a global agenda, we had a big constituency of mayors, cities and local government that were there from the beginning, preparing this agenda. So because the local governments and mayors were involved in this process, cities and local government have also taken these agendas, their agendas. We can see also today for the amount of presence that we have, how these things have become really a reality in the cities and how local governments are really leading somehow the process of implementation of the SDGs. But we know that this is not easy. And then we had the colleagues from Tallinn talking about at the end, this is also a governance issue because you have all these, for a ministry, for a central government, zero hunger will be the Department of Agriculture. Then good health will be the Ministry of Health. Quality education would be the Ministry of Education. We know from cities that all these come together because whenever you have an action in a city, you always touch different parts of the agenda. So of course, when it's very transformative in cities, but it's also much more complicated. So I just wanted to give a little bit of where did we come from. So we started working UNDP, UN Habitat, and this group of cities that we call the Global Task Force of Local Governments, led by UCLG, which is the major association of cities. Maybe many of you are part of these networks. So we start working about how this agenda could be applied at local level. Already we were working in 2014, so before the agenda was approved. And then we have been working since 2015 with producing, of course, learning materials, bringing mayors to the UN to report on SDGs. And every year, UCLG, together with the Global Task Force, they do this report on how is the state of localizing SDGs and what cities are doing to contribute to the agenda. So every year we bring the mayors to the UN, and Mayor Noraini has been with us many times here in New York. So the mayors, we have opened this space for mayors to report on what cities are doing on SDGs. We start doing this, I think this is the picture of 2019. This is the first time that we did this forum. And then, of course, now we have like a space in the UN to report, but we need to go deeper and start because everybody's starting to look for more for trends, for ideas and data, exactly. More data and better stories about the incredible contribution that local governments are doing to Agenda 2030. So it took a while to open these spaces. It took a lot to convince mayors and local governments. You're one of my favorite people because you are really there in the streets. You can touch the lives of citizens, and the amount of things that you can do at local level is enormous. So it took, let's say, 4 or 5 years to bring along the constituency of local governments to create the interest, to create the spaces, but now is when we have to do better because we only have 7 years to implement the agenda. Of course, the agenda is never going to happen totally. All the SDGs will not be achieved, but what we are seeing is how SDGs are changing the way that the cities are planning, are implementing, and are designing policies and changing the way that the administration is run. So we see a little bit these global trends, very major, because of course the world is very varied and there are many local situations. So basically we are seeing how cities are applying SDGs in innovating in service delivery. Innovating can be not only technology, can also do nature-based solutions, reintroducing ways that we use nature before, like maybe 3 or 4 centuries before. So this is something that is happening, how cities are taking the whole agenda as a strategic plan and then using them to change the way that the service as delivery at city level. We have seen the example of Tallinn this morning, which is very relevant. Then there is also, of course, an increased co-creation of service. Cities cannot devise the service alone. They need to come with the user, with the citizen. And the SDGs are helping people to also understand how the cities run, why things are connected with each other. There is, of course, a lot of interest in using data to explain. We are doing SDG 4, so how lunch in schools are getting improved for reaching more children. This is the kind of thing that the people need. They need to see more data about local action. And the SDG help a lot to communicate this kind of action, to generate trust, which was also, of course, what the colleague from Tajin has said early in the morning, about how we have this need to convince people about why local governments are important. And I always show this picture. I think this is Armenia. I think we have Armenian colleagues today. I think that this picture is from your region. So you have the citizen that passes in the street and sees this cube with SDGs. It's a language that people can understand, because even small children understand about no hunger, no poverty, life underwater. You know, this kind of aesthetic reaches the people. So the SDG has become an incredible tool to communicate local action and to explain to the people what local governments are doing. So in that term, to resume these global terms, it's not anymore like cities are implementing the SDGs, it's how SDGs are helping cities to implement certain policy mandates, actions, etc. So first they have becoming a planning tool. Some colleagues mentioned also in the morning, you take the SDGs, of course, as a local government, you have the mandate to decide which are your priorities. So it's not all of the SDGs. Some mayors decide they're going to focus on 5, on 6, on 7, but it's becoming a planning tool because it gives you like the whole range of development, and then you can start applying which specific SDGs you want to act upon, and then of course putting budget next to the tool. So it has become a new strategic plan for the city. It's also important that the citizens feel connected with the rest of the world. I think we don't talk this kind of software part of the Agenda 2030, how the citizen, you know, when you recycle your rubbish, you know that you're contributing to the well-being of the planet. And this part between the individual action and how you impact in the planet, what you leave for the children, it's something that we really need to tackle more, about how individual actions feel that the people are feeling connected with the global world, especially today that after the COVID, we were all a little stuck, and also, of course, the many challenges that the world is facing. And then this part on the trust that I think I've already touched upon. So I wanted to give very briefly some examples of resources and some examples of cities that are doing something. Barcelona was like a little bit the first one that did like this strategic plan. So instead of doing a strategic plan the normal way that the European cities do, they took the Agenda 2030 and they said, this is the strategic plan of the mayor. And they created a specific delivery office in the mayor's office that was coordinating all the departments to go towards the Agenda 2030. So they did the budget of the city based on the Agenda 2030. They specified the goals that they were going to tackle. And of course, they started identify targets and indicators, data to showcase progress about how this new mayor that arrived now 8 years ago wanted to implement their political mandate. So this was a little bit the first time that we saw Agenda 2030 like a planning tool. And then once, you know, very well, once it goes inside the public administration, it's there to stay, because this is the way when you change the way that policies are made. On the East Europe and Central Asia examples, we have the case of Dushanbe. They took Agenda 2030 to focus specifically on climate, so bringing together both the Paris Agenda and the Agenda 2030. So they devised the whole plan of greening the city, improving water and everything that has to do with environment, with SDG 13, using the SDGs to do a transformation of the city in terms of environmental issues. And then we have some cases also in the developing world where, you know, little projects that have to do with helping women to sell produce in the market. So they don't have any place to store the groceries that they grow. So the municipalities put in some kind of refrigerators to have the women to keep the produce during the night so they can sell the day after for much more value. So we can see how these projects, they never touch one SDG, it's never SDG 11, it's never 12. It has always in the city touching different SDGs at the same time. I'm running out of time, so I just wanted to give you some of the communication tools, because to create trust, we need to communicate better on actions. So we work with the SDG Action Campaign. This is a UNDP project that is a special initiative on behalf of the whole of the United Nations. And basically what we are doing is we are studying stories about cities. This is our first cohort of 6 cities that we are explaining better what they are doing. So we are doing a little bit like the marketing for these cities to tell their story in terms of the SDGs, so we can bring better stories to the UN about the importance of local governments' action on SDGs. This is a couple of examples about how the cities are implementing SDGs with projects that touch always. I always want to focus that it's never one SDG. It's always 3 or 4 at least when you work at city level. Then there is some communication tools available for all of you. Every year we celebrate the SDGs in September. There is this week of action. It's always around the end of September. We have a global map of action where you can report the actions that you do with citizens. It's very important also to do things in the parks to bring the people along. There are many cities that are doing like, like games in the park or plastering the city with the SDGs and doing this kind of communication. So we have developed some nice social media assets, tools, some videos. We have some ideas. Even if you don't have budget, you can always use social media to project certain messages. If you cannot print the board, you can always put it on social media. And then we have done some videos that are available in our webpage, Act for SDGs. We have also some Trello boards, some Canvas. We have designed a Local for Action logo that you can use. And all this is for you to communicate better what you are doing in SDGs that we know is very complicated. It's never easy to transform the way that cities are run. But we hope that we are giving you some communications and media tools to explain better what you are doing, which is already incredible. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Diana. And I think that was a very good showcase to how the 2030 agenda and the SDGs can be localized and can be used by local authorities to plan and communicate and obviously also continue building trust with residents. So thank you for that. And super if you can pop some links in the chat, Diana, with the relevant resources. It might be some of the municipalities here who would like to maybe use some of these communication tools. And as always, if there's any further questions on any of these tools, including the toolkit actually that Thomas also shared in the chat, we're happy to, of course, follow up with particular sessions on that or anything related under the Urban Learning Center. I'm being very mindful of our time. We have only 15 minutes left. We have one more session from Tallinn, which was a case study on looking at how the role of digitalization, urban planning and construction. That's Christopher, but Christopher is not on the call yet, right, Thomas? He's still not able to join us, so we have a recording.
Yes.
Right. I wonder, just being, I'm going to take the temperature in the room because I also want to be still many colleagues on the call. I want to make sure that we can, if there are any other comments or questions, because I think we might not have time for Christopher's intervention. I think we'll have to share that after. It's a recording and then we can see how we can translate that. I think that might be more useful at this point, if that's okay with you, Thomas.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. Colleagues, network, any questions, any thoughts? We've covered on the transition that Tallinn has done in terms of the green and the digital shift, and then also how the SDGs were used as a planning but also implementation tool for that, and Diana coming in with some international cases to that. Any thoughts, any questions, anything that you would like to share from your municipality? Are you using some similar tools already? Anybody would like to share anything from their municipality that could also, of course, be interesting for others to hear in the region? We have so many of our members on the call, so I would love to hear from some of you. Okay, next time we'll have someone lined up. All right, we got Hanna from Poltava in Ukraine. Over to you.
Доброго дня. Хочу
Afternoon. I would like, on behalf of Poltava community, city territorial community, I would like to share some ideas that we are currently implementing, because in these challenging times for our country, when we have martial law, we are at war. However, in our community, we have almost 400,000 internally displaced people in our community. And of course, that's a challenge for the municipality and for the representatives who provide social services for IDPs. And that is why we required this kind of transformation and to integrate IDPs to help them adapt and adjust to the host communities. Thus, Poltava City Council organized a number of activities for IDPs who, in order to speed up their adaptation, integration, and we held winter picnic activities, inviting women with children, and they had access to psychological first aid, and children could emotionally discharge and play. And also in the framework of implementation of the initiative Mayors for Economic Growth, we are now testing, piloting, and they're going to create this communication platform for IDPs, where we will build a greenhouse where IDPs with children will be able to have some psychological relief by growing ecological produce, eco-friendly produce there. So this time is very important for our community, because as representatives of the municipality, we are supposed to transform now, and we need to create the conditions for displaced people, for them to feel comfortable in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Hanna, so much for sharing more from Poltava and the challenges that, of course, you are facing, and the high number of IDPs and all the activities that we have planned. I think quite a few of them are interesting, both from a resilience angle, but also from a digital angle with the platform that you're thinking about, the green spaces, the green gardenings, etc. I think that could probably be of interest across the board as part of the M4EG network. So thank you so much for sharing that, and good luck to all of the work that you have ahead as well. We have not that much time left, and we want to make sure that we get some feedback on this session from all of you, and also feedback on what you would like to see in coming sessions under the Urban Learning Center. So Özge and Yachi in the conference room, can you guide us through a Menti? I see you posted it in the chat already. Maybe can you also post that QR code in the screen so people can use their cell phones?
Sure, I am just sharing my screen now. Here is a QR code, also you can join with the Menti. Also you can check in the chat box link and directly go to voting screen. I will keep it for a while. We have actually a high number of participants to be enrolled in the survey. It's really good from our point of view.
Yes, I hope everybody is in. You can use the link in the chat. Should we start seeing if there's any responses? We have 7 so far, and we would like to. We have 100 and how many? We have 140 people on the call. So please use this space to give your feedback.
Okay. The voting started already. We start with the first question. We desire to learn your thoughts about this session. So please rate regarding this session. If you find this seminar inspiring, how you found the content, usefulness of the information provided via this session, and your willingness to engage in the next sessions.
Give it a few more seconds, so please log in so we can also have your voice, your feedback. We have had a few inspiration sessions under the Mayors for Economic Growth last year as well, but this is the first one under the new Urban Learning Center. So we are very open to ideas and suggestions for how we shape this forward based on your needs and of course also interest areas.
For the ones who joined later, you can also click and go to menti.com and you can enter the code also to join the survey. Just a reminder.
All right, as a few more. All right, let's try to go to the next one then, Özge, in the interest of time. We will keep this one open. We'll recirculate it as well so others can input. So this is an open-ended question on any thoughts, any insights from the session, anything that stood out to you.
Have you received our first answer? Okay.
Someone said, we will work on it. I wonder what you will work on. Would you like to share on the spot? And then I will ask my colleagues who speak the relevant languages to help out as well if you want to come in.
There is one in Romanian that says it was a very productive session and the presentations were very good.
All right, thank you. Cities are leading SDG implementation. I think cities are at the forefront of all of these challenges, but also the opportunities. And like Diana pointed out, there's more and more room, I believe, at the international level for mayors and for local authorities to really try to shape that international agenda. In this year in July at the high level political forum, it will be SDG 11 on cities that will be under review if I remember correctly, and there will be a number of high level events with mayors to feature the role of local authorities in development. Right.
The insights are quite positive.
Yeah, that's good. And of course, anything as well, anything that you see missing going forward, then we are all ears as well. Just being mindful of time. Should we go to the next one? I think that's the last question. Oh yeah, this is on Tallinn. So big thanks to Thomas and Raido and Kalle and all of the Tallinn colleagues who planned this session with us and who were willing to share, and is also willing to offering to any peer-to-peer or other type of follow-up sessions. So if you have any any specific thing that you want to dig deeper on. Today was more overarching on the Tallinn experience. If you have any specific questions or thoughts on how you could potentially partner or learn more from the Tallinn experience, I see one email here already, but also if you have any particular topics that you would like to see or hear, then we can of course facilitate that with the help of Tallinn. Super. And you can always reach out to UNDP colleagues that you might be working with within the countries. We have, of course, our country leads, country network coordinators who you can always reach out to those for any follow-up with Tallinn or any other suggested cities as well. Right, and maybe we can put together, Thomas, almost like a briefing where we can combine links and toolkits and these types of things as a follow-up to the session, and then we can circulate in the network. That would be good, yeah. All right, we're almost running out of time, so feel free to keep on posting here. I think this will still be open, so or we'll make sure it's open for another week or so. Özge, would you mind going to the last one just to capture if there's any suggestions on the next sessions with Tallinn, but also with other cities, other thematics, focus areas that you would find interesting and that we could try to bring in or focus on under the coming sessions. So any thematics, any subject that you would be particularly interesting that is very relevant for your municipality right now, that you want to share something about or that you would like to hear more about from others. That was nothing in particular. Okay, here we have something that's excellent. Would the translator come in and tell us with everyone?
So there is one comment. The comment in Armenian says that the experience of small towns like ours would be more interesting from learning perspective for us.
Smaller towns, cities, and mountain cities experience. That's very specific, but let's see what we can do about that. And anyone else who want to come in on these two?
So that's the Ukrainian language. The first right says ensuring international partnerships between communities of Ukraine and EU country members. Then in the middle, it says first, experience of implementation of energy efficiency activities and measures. Second, experience of third, more practical activities and experience from the perspective of financial reasoning benefit to us.
Super, thank you. And here's also one around specifically on civil servant skills and funding opportunities. I think we will have a core focus on financing investment in 2023 under the Mayors for Economic Growth. So that we'll probably see something there. And then integration of SDGs into community, strategic development programs, documents. That's quite similar to what we covered today. We will keep this open, more on digitalization, right? So we will circulate, of course, the presentations, the recordings, and also this feedback form, and then probably a brief also about Tallinn as a follow-up. I know we've gone over time. I just want to thank everyone for joining. We had probably more than, I think, 160, 170 people joining today in total, and many of you stayed until the end. So thank you so much for joining today. And of course, a big thanks to Thomas and all of our colleagues in Tallinn. Thank you so much for taking the time, for preparing this session and sharing, and most of all, to more town in the partnership. So thank you again. Not sure if
we might, yeah, we lost your connection, unfortunately, Tina. I'm sorry, our connection is not so stable in the office sometimes.
Yeah, can you hear me now? It's the office. Okay. I just wanted to say, I mean, yeah, a big thanks again to Thomas and colleagues from Tallinn. If you want to say any last words, Thomas, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you again for the opportunity, and really do not hesitate to contact us. So we really hope that from this general introduction there arises more specific topics that we could peer learn from each other, or if you're just starting with some topic, when we can share our experience. Also, you can watch Christopher's presentation from a video, so it's a very interesting topic, and maybe you also find something from there that you would like to contact us. So really don't hesitate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Thomas. Thank you all, and hope to see you again soon. Have a lovely day.